Okay, this is a review of some of the stuff we did before Thanksgiving break about graphing lines. So remember that all points on the line are solutions to the equation. So we're going to take this equation and try to find ordered pairs that make this equation true. So I'm going to use y equals 1/2, and then I'm going to put a blank where the x is plus 1. So in this blank goes the x value. In the table over here, they've given me a bunch of x values. So I'm going to start just plugging in those x values and finding the matching y value. So it's been done here for you for -4 for x. 1/2 times -4 is -2, plus 1 gives me -1. So the y value here is -1. Now you need to plot that point on your grid over here. -4, -1. So -4 on the x, -1 on the y. And that's that point right there. So let's plug in 0 now. So now I have 1/2 times 0 plus 1. Of course, that's just 0 plus 1. And go ahead and plug in 4. You do that one. Now go ahead and plot these 2 points. Pause and then check your answer. And now it says make sure to use a straight edge, so don't forget to do that. I'll use a ruler, but also if you don't have a ruler, anything that has a straight edge, like the side of your notebook or something, will work. Make sure to make your line nice and long, all the way to the edges of the grid. Choose a point that is exactly on the line you graphed. Well, some of these points are already on there from the table, so I'll pick a new one. Say this point right here. That's the point 6, 4. Show work to confirm the point you chose is a solution to the equation. So this is my x value, this is my y value. I'm going to make sure it makes this equation true. Put the y for 4, and the x, I'm going to put 6. Now that's true. It's a solution to the equation. So the next question says, is the point 151 on the line? Show work or explain. So remember, if it's on the line, then it's a solution to the equation. Let's label this x and y. We'll check to see, is it a solution? So I'm going to put 51 for the y, 100 for the x. So yes, it is a solution because it makes the equation true. So that's coming here to our key fact. All points on the line are solutions to the equation. So let's look at part E. Is the point 200, 180 on the line? So we'll do the same thing. We'll check. You check and see what you think. It does not make the equation true. So that's not a solution. Okay, so let's fill in these blanks here. A blank equation is an equation whose graph is a line. A linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line. All points on the line are blank of the equation. Solutions. Right? There are different kinds of equations that don't graph as lines, and we might talk about those later. So here we're going to make a table and graph each line, and you can see that the x's are not filled in for me this time, so I get to pick my own x's. I'll pick fairly easy ones, maybe -1, 0, 1, and 2. And then over here I'm going to do fill in the blank where the x is for each x value. Pause and go ahead and do that, then check your answer. So these points I'm going to go ahead and plot on my graph over here now. So first, -1 on the x-axis, 5 on the y-axis. That's this point right here. 0, 3, 1, 1, 2, -1. And then use a straight edge to graph. Great. There are a couple of things I want to point out on this graph. So first of all, we've talked about this before, that this value here, the 3, is the b in our y equals mx plus b. You've seen that equation before. And the b is the y-intercept. So you'll notice here, we have the point 0, 3. That's our b value from the y equals mx plus b. And then you might also notice that our slope goes down to over 1. We can see from the graph that the slope, or the m, is -2 over 1. So the table and the points and graph confirm what we already knew about graphing lines. Okay, on page 10, each one of these is somewhat review. So I encourage you to pause the video, give the whole page a try, and then restart the video and check your answers. Or start it again if you got stuck. Okay, let's go over these first 3 here. So here I've just plugged in x values that I chose. You might have chosen different x values, but you would get the same line. Notice that it has intersects the y-axis at -2, and it goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1 for the slope. Here, I didn't actually fill in this part of the table because the equation says no matter what x is, y is 3. So I just made points with a y-coordinate of 3 and plotted those. This next line says no matter what y is, x is equal to -2. So again, I kind of plotted those points. This one's a vertical line. Okay, so let's look at this word problem down here together. So notice that, let's see what this counts by. It seems to count by twos, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I would probably plug in some values that are going to work well with my table here. So let's label these as well. So this is number of hours, and this is wind speed. So let's plug in, 0 is a great number to plug in, and then maybe 6 and 10. Okay, so if we plug in 0, 2 times 0 is 0 plus 66, gives me 66. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 66, 78. 2 times 10 is 20 plus 66 gives me 86. So now I can go ahead and plot these points. All right, so 0, 66, there's 50. This is going to be 60, 70, 80, 90. So 66 is going to be about right there. And then I've got 678 and 1086. And you do have to approximate those just a little bit because the graph is not quite precise enough. All right, now the slope. Remember, we can see the slope in the equation. That's our m value. What do you think the slope represents in this context? So let's see. The wind speed of a tropical storm is y equals 2x plus 66, where x is the number of hours after the storm enters the Gulf of Mexico. So it seems that we go up 2 miles per hour in wind speed for every hour after the storm enters the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, now the point 474 is on the line. That's not one of the points that we put in our table. We can see that that's about right there, 474. What does this mean? Well, 4 is the x, 74 is the y. So 4 is going to be the number of hours after the storm enters the Gulf of Mexico. And remember, y is the wind speed. All right, so this one is an important illustration of something that we talked about a little bit earlier, is that the slope and the y-intercept are showing up on the graph, right? 0, 1 is the y-intercept. That's the y-intercept right there. This -2, that's our slope. And we can see them on the graph because the graph goes down 2 over 1, and it crosses the y-axis right here at 0, 1. So how do we see -2 on the graph? Line goes down to right 1, down to right 1. Okay, how do you see the y-intercept of -1 on the graph? All right, well, how would it look different if we graphed 2x minus 1? Well, it would cross the y-axis where? Oh, and this one should be plus 1. Okay, it would cross the y-axis at 0, -1, and instead of going down 2 over 1, right 1, right? And so you can even go ahead and graph that on here to see how it would look different. The y-intercept would be here at 0, -1, and instead of going down and over, we would go up and over. So up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So you can kind of see how this line would in fact, so this is the graph of y equals 2x minus 1. Okay, for each of these, you're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept and then graph. So remember, the slope is the coefficient of the x. So for this one, the slope is 1/2. That means go up 1, right 2. The y-intercept is -3, or you can think of it as that point 0, -3, even better. So you can plot that first. These 6 graphs, I want you to do them and then check your answers. Okay, great. So this one has a slope of 1/2, meaning up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. Its slope is 0, -3. This one, a little tricky. Make sure that you realize that that x has a coefficient of 1, so the slope is 1. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. And the y-intercept was 2. This one is the same as y equals 0x minus 3. So you can see that that has a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of -3. So this line right here, no matter what x is, y is -3. Here we've got a y-intercept of 0, so I kind of added that plus 0 in. And that goes down 3, right 2. This one has a slope of -3 and a y-intercept of 5. And then this one is a little bit tricky. It has an undefined slope and no y-intercept. So that was a little bit tricky. Make sure that you make a correction there if you need to. Great. Once all of your work is complete and correct, you can take super clear pictures and submit it on Schoology.